Stay there. Okay, stay. Okay. Yeah, hi guys. I'm just here today, a pretty nice park. But I want to talk about the park today. I want to show that perhaps another time. It's a very interesting park, very important park for the area here around Portland. But yeah, I don't want to talk about that today. I want to talk about an interesting tobacco that I'm smoking. It's a, I think we could say a kind of a controversial tobacco in a way. I don't know if controversial is the right word, but it comes up now and again as one of those tobaccos that you're going to be on one side or the other, put it that way. It's either really hated or people really like it. So it's made by Samuel Gawith. Samuel Gawith, or Samuel Gawith, depending on where you are in the world pronouncing it. Gawith would be pronounced with a vocal labial velar approximant, and Gawith, when the W is pronounced with a V, is a voiced labial dental fricative. Those of you interested in linguistics, my brother's a linguist, professor of linguistics for quite some time, so, and language has been important in my family for a long time, so I've always heard these words and terms, and especially with my brother. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that either. I want to talk about this interesting tobacco by Samuel Gawith. It's 1792 Flake. It's also called Dark Kendall Flake. So, yeah, this is an interesting one. And like I said before, a bit controversial. I'll tell you why in a minute. But let me tell you about it first. It's a dark-fired leaf, Tanzania leaf. It's hand stripped, and it goes through a steaming process before they press it together. And then they get a cake after that pressing, and then it's wrapped in a leaf, and they don't really describe which leaf, but it's wrapped in a leaf, and then it's packed into a square, and then it's cut up into flakes, and then they say they add the Tonquin flavor, the Tonquin additive, and that's part of the controversy, and I'll get to that in a little bit. There's a few other blends, I think, that are rumored to have a Tonquin flavor added as well, and I'm not sure about these. I've heard Interdale is Dunhill Royal Yacht, Sam's Flake, Bracken Flake, Kendall Flake, and perhaps quite a few more, but I'm not sure about those. But that's what I've heard. But for sure they say in this one that Tonquin flavor is added. We'll get to that in a minute. They also say, I think, there's some kind of a whiskey flavoring too added, but I'm not sure about that, and I don't detect that. So 1792 is the year that Samuel Gawith started blending tobacco. So it's a type of an anniversary blend, I guess, commemorating their when they began. So let me show you this tobacco. Yeah, it comes in a really nice tin with some really nice tin art. And of course packed with the paper inside, as always. And my tin is an old tin. I'm not sure how long I've had it, and not sure when this was produced. Haven't looked into that, but I know it's pretty old, so it's had some age on it. So, but let me show you the tobacco here. So, as you see, it's a pretty dark flake, and there's some, you know, as there usually is with Samuel Gawith, there's you know, the flakes are pretty broken up, and so a lot of it comes in a type of a ready rubbed form, a broken flake. But there's still some nice pieces of flake in here. Let me show you one. And I'm not sure if you can see, but there's some sugar crystals out all over this tobacco, and you can even feel it, the texture of the sugar crystals on it. So it's a dark fired Kentucky and Virginia in here, and it's the Virginias often that have so much of the sugars in them that when they're aged, they continue through a fermenting type process, and the sugar crystals are brought out through the process of aging together. So it's really nice, really dark flake, and when you smell it, a lot of people say they get kind of a vanilla, creamy aroma to it, but I don't get that. The aromas I get are kind of dark and rich and fermented tobaccos, and if you spend a little bit of time smelling it, I detect a little bit of a floral and incense kind of aroma to it, but it's not out in the front. It's just in the background. But you can detect it if you smell it long enough. It's not an overpowering aroma when you're smelling it. It's somewhat. I wouldn't say it's subtle, but it doesn't bite your nose. We'll say that. So, and like I said, a lot of the flakes are broken up as usual for these blends by Samuel Gawith, and it's easily rubbed out. Yeah, I like to just rub mine out gently, and I give it a little bit of a drying time, perhaps about an hour but even after that, it's, you know, it's going to take some relighting. Mine's already gone out. Let me relight. So it's going to take some time. You know, this is not a good blend for beginners in any way. It's a strong flake, strong aroma, lots of nicotine, and the technique of getting it rubbed out and smoking it and tending it is, you know, makes it not a very good tobacco for beginners. You know, I wouldn't suggest that any beginner start with a flake at all anyways, but especially this one. But it is a good one. It is one that I enjoy from time to time, but like I said, it takes a lot of care. But it is a good blend, and it is one that, like I said, I like to bring out every once in a while, and smoke. But it's not one that I smoke often. The other thing is, you really want to smoke this in corn cob or meerschaum or something like that, because it does have a strong enough aroma that it will ghost a pipe. So if you don't, especially if you don't know the flavor and you want to try it out, you definitely want to try it in a pipe that you don't have to worry about the ghosting of it. So, because it is strong, and you do want to smoke this on a full stomach. Definitely wouldn't recommend going first thing in the morning to this. So that's it with the tobacco. Yeah, really hard to keep lit, especially when I'm not attending to it and talking. So, I wanted to talk just a minute too about the Tonquin Bean that's added to this and added to a few other tobaccos, perhaps, along with other things. But let me get to that for a minute. So the Tonquin bean is grown in central and the northern part of South America. At least that's the origin of it. It's grown elsewhere now, I believe, but that's where it began. And if you're interested, the Genesis species name is Dipteryx ordorata. Ordorata. Yeah, that's the species name. So it's used as a vanilla substitute in some types of cooking, especially I think French cooking, and in perfumes and in fragrances, and you know, in those types of industries where they want some kind of an additive to give a certain flavor or a certain aroma. It's taken from a flowering tree that's in the pea family, so it's somehow related to the peas, but in a tree form. It's I guess it can become a pretty large tree, a fairly large tree, and fairly dense. And I've heard that it can be that they found trees that are near 1,000 years old, I think, which is very unusual for the tropical areas, for trees to live that long. But that's what I've heard. So let me show you these beans. I have some here. So these are the seeds of the trees, and they're after they're picked, of course, they're dried. So they look like this. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah, got a couple of them in there. So there it is. They don't have much of a smell when they're dried. Just a little bit of a sweet smell to them, but when they're used, they're of course broken up or turned into a powder, or some other way, so that they're able to use them in cooking or as a fragrance or something. However they're going to use them, they prepare them in a different way, and that brings out the aromas or the flavors in cooking. They do have a high content of coumarin. So this is where the controversy comes in. Coumarin has a bitter taste to it. So it's usually added in a way where the bitter taste augments some of the kind of flavorings, a sweet flavoring or whatever. So it's an additive flavor because it can be bitter, but it also has a pleasant odor. So when they use it for perfume or something like that, the odor that it gives off is pretty pleasant, I guess. So that's why it's used so largely in the perfume industry. So in large doses of coumarin, you can get hemorrhages or liver damage or even heart paralysis, but those are in large doses, and they're doses that you're probably never going to get the way they're usually used. So it would be an unnatural way of getting them. So because it's thought that coumarin has blood thinning capabilities. So is it possible that you could get a reaction? Perhaps it is, but is it likely? I really don't think so. The controversy kind of comes because there is a drug that we use in medicine, warfarin, or Coumadin. Coumadin is the trade name, and it's an anticoagulant drug, and it's based on a chemical derivative that they isolated out of coumarin. So, but in the end, coumarin really doesn't have anticoagulant properties. So I think we're safe doing that, because it takes such a high dose and such a concentration of it, and the drugs that we do use they're a chemical derivative, so it's not exactly the same. So it's not going to have the same effect as a natural Tonquin bean does. Say if you were to have some in your food. So the effect is different, and that's where the controversy comes, and that's why many governments and say the FDA have put restrictions on it over the years, because it's been a controversy here and there throughout the world. of it being banned and forbidden here and there. But it's really not a problem when it comes to these small doses in food, because it's actually a compound that's found in lots of different fruits and vegetables and plants around us. So it's not just in the Tonquin bean. It's something that's found in lots of different places. So that's it. I'm gonna get my pipe lit so I can finish this bowl. And just wanted to talk to you guys about that. Perhaps you found that interesting. I don't know, but it is an interesting tobacco, a different tobacco, one that perhaps stands out in some ways. It's very rich, very strong, and like I said, has some nicotine. So it's one that you want to go easy on and not smoke it too hard. But like all of these tobaccos from Samuel Gawith, you have to dry them out and take your time with them. It takes a lot more technique to smoke these, and they're not for beginners. They're going to take some technical know-how to smoke them. So it's not one of those that you just want to put in your pipe and go work on something. And you really need to, take your time with it. And it takes a little bit of wrestling, I guess. But in the end, for me, it's worth it. It has a really good, smooth flavor, rich, deep flavor. If you like the dark-fired Kentuckys and dark-fired leaves, then you will like this one. For me, the Tonquin additive is not very strong. But again, my tobacco that I've been smoking is aged a little, so perhaps some of that eases off over time, and as the tobacco leaf and the additive spends time together, perhaps they soften each other out. So, but if it sounds interesting to you, give it a shot and see what you think. But that's it for today. Hope you guys are well. Hope you're enjoying a good pipe wherever you are and whatever you're smoking. So you guys take care, and I'll see you again.